Israeli airstrikes on Tyre in southern Lebanon killed 7 and injured 17 others. Iran's president emphasizes that Iran will respond appropriately to the Israeli strikes. And the United States Vice President Kamala Harris reiterates her positions on the Middle East conflict. It's exactly 4 p.m. Call local time and you're watching Qnews. We begin today's bulletin with the latest developments in Lebanon.
كل المستهدفين هن مدنيين. وضع شيء مرعب، شيء بيخوف.
The Lebanese Ministry of Public Health has reported that 7 people were killed and 17 were injured in an Israeli airstrike targeting Tyre in southern Lebanon. Israeli attacks on the villages of Tyre and Bint Jibali districts have continued, with Israeli artillery targeted multiple towns with heavy projectiles. Earlier, Israeli airstrikes targeted the town of Ain Bal, killing 7 and injuring 24. Rescue teams are still searching for survivors under the rubble. Hezbollah has announced the targeting of Israeli soldiers in the Misgav M settlement, launching both rocket and drone strikes on multiple settlements in northern Israel. The group warned residents of over 20 settlements to evacuate immediately, marking them as legitimate targets. Hezbollah confirmed the drone attacks on Kufar Yuval, Zarit and Shumera and strikes on Nahariya, Kiryat Shimona and Eilat and other settlements. Trails of smoke have been seen rising into the sky in the northern Israeli as sirens sounded, with explosions heard shortly after. The Israeli Medical Service said following the sirens in the upper Jalili region, emergency workers were en route to search on the area of a reported rocket strike. No casualties were yet reported. Smoke has been seen billowing from Marja Ayoun in southern Lebanon as Israel continued its assault on villages along the Israeli-Lebanese border. The Israeli military has urged residents of 14 villages in southern Lebanon to evacuate immediately and move north of Awali River. Lebanon's health ministry has announced that an Israeli strike on Sidon in southern Lebanon killed at least 9 people and injured 25 others. The Lebanese Health Ministry has announced that the death toll from Israeli attacks on Lebanon has climbed to over 2,600, with over 12,400 wounded since October 8th of last year. These figures were released as Israel launched an airstrike in the Lebanese town of Ain Bal, causing 7 deaths, including 3 paramedics. At least 24 people were also injured in the attack. That brings the total number of losses in Lebanon health and emergency sectors to 168 deaths and more than 270 injuries. Israeli strikes have reduced buildings in Beirut's southern suburbs to rubble, with the Israeli military stating that it is targeting Hezbollah structures. Israel launched its major offensive on Lebanon a month ago with the proposed aim of weakening Hezbollah's forces. However, civilian casualties continue to increase, with attacks driving further displacement across the region. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian has emphasized that Iran will respond appropriately to the recent Israeli strikes. He also clarified that Iran does not seek war. He has further attributed the increasing regional tensions to the Israeli aggression that targeted the Iranian military sites and claimed it was supported by the United States.
جنبندیش رو تو شورای امنیت هم صحبت خواهیم کرد. در گذشته اینکه احتمال اینکه با هم رد و بدل کرده باشه.
Iranian Revolutionary Guard Commander Hossein Salami has credited Iran's air defenses with preventing Iran's recent attack from meeting its objectives. Salami further described Israel's attack as a strategic miscalculation and promised painful consequences beyond Israelis' expectations. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has claimed that Israel damaged Iran's ability to defend itself and to produce missiles. Netanyahu added that Israel has fulfilled its promise to retaliate against Iranian attacks on its cities, and that the attack on Iran was precise and powerful and achieved all its objectives.
התקיפה באיראן הייתה מדויקת ועוצמתית והשיגה את כל מטרותיה.
Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Jian has stressed that recent incidents in the Middle East indicate the urgency of a ceasefire. He stated that China opposes violations of other countries' sovereignty and the reckless use of force. The Foreign Ministry spokesman urged all parties to avoid escalating security risks and called on the international community to play a constructive role in fostering conditions to ease regional tensions. Now we move on to the latest developments in the United States, days ahead of the presidential election.
We will build what I call an opportunity economy.
We will make America great.
We're ready to fight for it. As one people, we are moving forward.
We will make America safe again.
United States Vice President Kamala Harris has reiterated her positions on the conflict in the Middle East. Harris added that she was not concerned about talks between former President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. She claimed that talks between Trump and Netanyahu could undermine what the current United States government is trying to achieve.
That the war ends, that we get the hostages out, but also that there is a real commitment among nations to a two-state solution in the day after, and we have to fulfill that responsibility.
Well, it is good to be back in Philadelphia, and
Republican candidate Donald Trump has warned of an impending global conflict caused by President Joe Biden's policies. Speaking at Madison Square Garden in New York, Trump pledged to prevent a potential third world war, tackle inflation, and curb government overspending if elected.
Destroyed California, you destroyed everything you touched. You're not going to destroy our nation. Kamala Harris, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. Get out of here. You're fired.
The White House has announced that President Joe Biden will participate in early voting for the upcoming presidential election. Many Americans are already voting by mail ahead of Election Day, which is set for November the 5th.
Not hyperbole. It's not Democrat, Republican. This is decency versus lack of decency. This is about character, this election. And folks who know, I got to choose my words here. The choice couldn't be clear. The choice couldn't be more stark. I'm a president has pointed out by my buddy that I walked the picket line. Well, so has Kamala walked the picket line. You know, the only picket line Trump ever looks at is one he can, in fact, cross the picket line. Not walk it, cross it. Name me something he's ever done. One single thing. Name me one single thing as a private entrepreneur or as a candidate he's ever done for American labor.
Democratic Vice Presidential candidate Kamala Harris is taking a firm stance on Middle East tensions, contrasting sharply with Donald Trump's approach.
Thank you all. And listen, on the topic of Gaza, we must end that war.
Democratic Vice Presidential candidate Kamala Harris has firmly maintained her stance on Middle East issues, particularly in response to the ongoing Israeli aggression in Lebanon and Gaza. When asked by a journalist whether she believed that discussions between the Republican opponent Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu could undermine current U.S. diplomatic efforts, Harris was resolute in her response.
No. And I do believe that it is critically important that we, as the United States of America, be an active participant in encouraging, one, that this war ends, that we get the hostages out, but also that there is a real commitment among nations to a two-state solution in the day after. And we have to fulfill that responsibility.
While both Harris and Trump advocate for Israel's security, Harris seeks a more balanced approach by calling for negotiations centered on a two-state solution, unlike her counterpart. And in contrast with her own president, Joe Biden, Harris has repeatedly emphasized the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and West Bank. She has also condemned unilateral actions that hinder peace efforts, such as settlement expansion. Trump and Netanyahu have often highlighted their close ties, with Trump promoting his ability to end chaos in the Middle East as a cornerstone of his campaign, particularly as he aims to gain support from Muslims and Arab American voters by promising stability and peace in the region. As both candidates make pledges focused on regional stability, there is increasing concern about the potential for the U.S. to step back from its traditional role as a security guarantor in the Middle East. This shift could create a vacuum, further complicating an already volatile landscape marked by the protracted conflict in Gaza, Israel's recent front in Lebanon, escalating tensions between Iran and Israel, and ongoing conflicts in Yemen and the Red Sea. The upcoming November election will play a crucial role in shaping Washington's future role in this global hotspot, potentially clarifying the candidate's awareness of and commitment to fostering stability in the Middle East.
And for more analysis, we now move to Riham Morsi in our newsroom.
Thank you, Rana. To help us analyze the latest statements by the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris regarding the Middle East, we're joined from California by the world politics analyst at United Media Services Company, Dr. Ashraf Singer. Thank you so much for joining us here on Q. First, let me ask you, good morning to you too, sir. First, let me start off by saying, how do you view Kamala Harris's call for a balanced approach to the U.S. diplomacy in the Middle East, and in particular, her emphasis on the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and the need for a two-state solution? This came, as you know, people heckled her on stage asking, for an end of violence in Gaza and to free Palestine?
Yeah, I consider Kamala Harris the only voice be heard in the White House was talking about, the crisis in Gaza and, aiming in future to find a resolution of two-state solution between and the ongoing crisis between Israelis and Palestinians now. It's really moving towards what we called here. It's a deep crisis that the Americans feel sympathy about what is going on there in bloodshed and killing women's kids in every corner in Gaza. So her positions politically now, it's very crucial for her campaign when Trump, also asking Muslims or Arab Americans in Michigan to give their votes to Trump, not to Kamala. Give them a promise that he's gonna to make peace between Israelis and Palestinians. But in terms of reality, yes, both of them, Kamala and Trump, they gave a huge support to Israel, and they defined Israel as a,
but the difference here is, if you don't mind me asking, do you think that the difference or the deciding factor within this could possibly be the idea that, what happened in Gaza happened during the Biden administration, and Kamala Harris being the VP in the Biden administration, this could actually hurt her campaign, and that's why she's trying to sort of distance herself from the Biden administration and how it dealt with Gaza?
This is a good point because, Kamala Harris, being accused that she was also part of Biden administration in different issues here in the United States, not only Gaza, like immigrations and inflation, but distance herself from Biden. This is a good strategy, particularly for what is going on now in Middle East. And I'm hoping that Kamala Harris can really make peace and really create the two-state solutions. But by herself, as her vice president, she is not really having a real power in the White House. She is just a voice, but the number of hawks or the number of staff and persons in the White House, they are supporting Israel. It's completely huge compared to the voice of Kamala Harris. But Kamala Harris and her husband and her daughter, all of them, they are giving, a very clear vision that they need really to see a peace in the Middle East. So Kamala Harris, from my point of view, I'm seeing her, she is more practical than Donald Trump in terms of giving, the right for Palestinians, to get their state.
But as you said, sir, earlier, that they're both relatively, stuck to Israel, and they're supporting Israel, both campaigns regardless, even if they both have different visions for how they think the Middle East should be run. But they both said that they both support Israel and they both believe in a two-state solution. So in your opinion, how might the slight differences in the approach from Kamala Harris and Donald Trump regarding the Israeli aggression in Palestine impact, in general, the U.S. credibility and effectiveness in mediating in the region?
This is a good point because, Arabs or Arab Americans, they forgot, that Israel built its legacy here in the United States in terms of lobbying about their interest, or their goal in the Middle East to create their own states. So we understand that Israel is a very crucial for the United States interest in the Middle East. Switching that view now, seeing, Arabs or some countries in the Middle East, they can really give United States some degree of security and stability. Of course, they are not equivalent to the Israel point, but the great change that is I'm expecting, and the big move I'm expecting is coming from a new generation here in the United States, particularly the young guys. They are seeing, what is going on in the Middle East. It's awful, it's unfair, and they need to ask, or they were asking, the administration, either Republican, Democrat administration, should really impose its preference on Israelis to get that done, to see real peace, to see two-state solutions, And I think Kamala Harris practically can really execute this policy, while Trump, I have a big doubt that Trump can really execute that policy in future, because Trump controlled by the lobbying and the money and the fundraising he got from the Israel lobby here in the United States more than Kamala Harris. So it seems to me like Trump, if he gonna to be the U.S. president, probably will see the Middle East in different track. But I have like a good hope that Kamala Harris can really achieve, what we are expecting to end that conflict, and really seeing, the ceasefire and on the ground, particularly after that number of people got killed since, the October 7th.
Which, as you said, sir, like the younger generation, the younger Americans are more, tech savvy, and they have access to what's actually happening in the Middle East. And this is not only true for the Americans, it's true for the youth everywhere around the world. So the US right now is also facing a credibility issue as well, since they've been towing the line for the last year and saying that, Israel has a right to defend itself, and whenever there's a massacre, we're waiting for the Israelis to assess the situation and so forth. How can the U.S. find some sort of way to find, what legally or ethical responsibility do you believe that the United States has to address when it comes to human rights violations amid the ongoing aggressions in both Gaza and Lebanon, not just for legal reasons, but also to save face and make them appear like they are, as they like to claim, the saviors of democracy?
I see, the world now is moving to be a multipolar system, so controlling Middle East by United States or Israel, of course, they are not really having that opportunity, if we would like to talk about like 20 years ago. So now with China, Russia, so EU, so all of these major powers, they need to, showing their presence in the Middle East, they have something, can do to stop this violence. So Europe actually feel that Middle East or that ongoing conflict is really relevant to her interest, to its interest in the Middle East more than United States. United States only focusing on supporting Israel. It doesn't matter Israel is invading or Israel under attack. So it doesn't. The only issue for the United States is supporting Israel. But it seems to me like if United States would like to lead the global politics, need to promote fair and balance in different regions. And one of the great scholar actually he mentioned many times in what we call it that guy from Michigan I'm sorry, from Chicago. He mentioned that America, if it's still giving that huge support to Israel, gonna to lose it is
sir,
leading.
I apologize, I have to cut you off there because we're out of time, but I'm sure we're going to get back to this topic again with you, sir. That was the world politics analyst at the United Media Services Company, Dr. Ashraf Singer. Thank you for your valuable insights. Back to you, Rana, in the studio.
Thank you so much, Riham. Now we move on to the latest developments in the world of the economy. Global shares had a mixed performance today as markets await key economic data from the United States as the elections approach. In the United States, early trading down 500 futures gained 0.5%. In Europe, France's CAC 40 traded 0.7% higher, while Germany's DAX rose 0.0% and Britain's FTSE 100 added nearly 0.2%. In Asia, Japan's benchmark Nikkei 225 surged 1.8%. South Korea's Kospi edged up 1.1%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng added less than 0.1%, while the Shanghai Composite rose 0.7%. Oil prices fell over $3 a barrel after Israelis strike on Iran, with both Brent and US West Texas Intermediate crude futures reaching their lowest levels since October the 1st. Brent was trading 4.1% lower at $72.92 a barrel. United States West Texas Intermediate dropped 4.4% to $68.63 a barrel. And that brings us to the end of the news bulletin. Here's what we have been covering. Israeli airstrikes on Tyre in southern Lebanon killed 7 and injured 17 others. Iran's president emphasizes that Iran will respond appropriately to the Israeli strikes. And the United States Vice President Kamala Harris reiterates her positions on the Middle East conflict. This concludes our news bulletin for the hour. Don't forget to follow Q News on YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram and TikTok at QNewsEG to stay informed. For real-time updates, connect with us on the UMS digital platform. Watch it. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more coming up here on Q News.